Hey everybody, so in today's video, we're just going to be reviewing for the test by going over the answers for this 6.1 to 6.2 review. The questions that are on this review are just like the questions on the quiz. Once I'm done with this, I'm also going to post this answer key for your reference as well, so that you can use it when working on your quiz. So the first question, what is the sum of the measure of the interior angles of an octagon? So we have a formula that we use to find the sum of the interior angles of any polygon, and that's the number of sides minus 2 times 180. Since it's an octagon, we know that it has 8 sides. So we're going to do 8 minus 2 times 180, and that's going to give us 1080. And that's all they wanted was the sum. Question number 2 is a little bit different. What's the measure of each interior angle of a regular hexagon? So a hexagon has 6 sides. So we know that the sum is going to be 6 minus 2 times 180, which comes out to be 720. But they want the measure of each of the angles in a regular hexagon. So since it's regular, they're telling us that all the angles are equal to each other, which means we're going to just divide the number by 6. So we're going to take 720, which is the sum, divide that by 6, since there's 6 equal angles, and that's going to give us 120 degrees. So each angle would be 120 degrees. And number 3, what's the sum of the measure of the exterior angles of a decagon? Now with this question, you don't want to overthink it. The sum of the exterior angles of every polygon is the same number. It could be a triangle, it could be a quadrilateral, it could be a decagon, it could be a 5,000,000-gon. It doesn't matter how many sides it has. The sum of the measure of the exterior angles is always 360. That number doesn't change. Okay, and then keeping that in mind, in question number 4, they want the measure of each exterior angle of a regular 30gon. So we already know what the sum is. We know that the sum is 360 for every polygon. So the sum of the exterior angles is 360, but they want each angle in a 30gon. So since there's 30 equal angles in a regular 30gon, we're going to divide the sum by 30. So 360 divided by 30, that gives us 12 degrees. So each exterior angle is 12 degrees. Okay, so moving on to number 5. Now we're going to be looking at other polygons that aren't regular. They have a bunch of different angle measures. So number 5, if we count the sides up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 sides, so it's a pentagon. So if you want to make a little note of that, good ones to remember. But the name doesn't really matter here. What we really need to know is, what do those angles all add up to? So we don't know what x is, so we can't just add all 5 of the angles together to figure out what they add up to. We need to use our little formula, which is the number of sides, which is 5, minus 2 times 180, and that's 540. So we know that all 5 of these angles on the interior of the pentagon add up to 540. So if we take all 5 and add them together, so I'm going to start with 87. So make sure that you include that x, so add all 5 of the angles together. We know that they equal 540 because it's a pentagon. Okay, combine the like terms, so 87, 105, 135, 92. That's all going to combine to 419. So 419 plus x equals 540. And then subtract 419 from both sides, and you wind up getting that x is equal to 121. All right, so number 6 is the same idea. They gave us the interior angles of this polygon here. This polygon is a hexagon because it has 6 sides. So we need to know, what do all those angles add up to? So we start with the number of sides minus 2 times 180. So 6 minus 2 times 180, that comes out to 720. So what we know is that all 6 of these angles add up to 720. So we're going to add them all together, just like we did in the previous question. And then we're going to set it equal to 720. This one's going to be a pretty long one, though, because we have all these expressions here. So just pick an angle and start anywhere you want. I'm going to start with a 90. And I'm just going to go in a counterclockwise rotation and just add all the angles together. Make sure you don't miss anything. and then add them all together, set them equal to the sum, which is 720. So we have a very long equation here that can be cleaned up very nicely by just combining like terms. So combine 90, 3, 128, 8, 111, and negative 19. Combine all those together. And you should get a total of 321. And then you're going to combine all of the x's together, so 7x combined with the 5x combined with the 9x, and you get 21x equals 720. So that's a lot nicer looking than what we have had before. So just clean it up a little bit. All right, so now we're going to subtract 321 from both sides, and we get 21x equals 399. And then divide by 21, and you'll end up getting x is 19. Now they also want the measure of angle V, so find measure angle V. It's right up here, 5x plus 8. Now that we know that x is 19, we're just going to plug it in. 5 times 19 plus 8, that's going to be 103 degrees. Now if you want to take that extra step and plug x into every single angle here, and then add all those answers together to make sure they add up to 720, it's not a bad idea. That can guarantee that you did it correctly. All right, moving on to number 7. Number 7 looks a little different than the other picture. It's a triangle, but we have all the exterior angles given to us, none of the interior. So even though the interior angles of a triangle is 180, that's not true for exterior angles. The exterior angle sum for every polygon is 360. So we're going to add all 3 angles together and set it equal to 360. Okay, you're going to combine your like terms. So all the x's, 9x, 5x, and 10x, that becomes 24x. And then positive 1 plus 12 minus 37, that comes out to be negative 24. So all of that equals 360. And then to solve the two-step equation by adding 24 to both sides. So when you add 24 to both sides, you end up getting 24x equals 384. And then divide both sides by 24, and your final answer is that x is 16. And then again, one additional step you might want to take is take that 16 and then plug it in to each of the exterior angles. Add all those angles together, you should get 360. That's the best way to check your answers. Okay, so moving on to the next side. So now we're dealing with properties of parallelograms. So you might want to have your list handy here. We have, I guess there were five properties. A parallelogram, the definition, it's a quadrilateral with 2 pairs of opposite sides parallel. But then we had 4 additional properties that applied because it's a parallelogram, which was the opposite angles are equal, the consecutive angles are supplementary, the opposite sides are congruent, and the diagonals bisect each other. So we're going to apply all of those rules to these questions here. So you can really start anywhere you want. I like to usually fill the diagram in before I answer the questions. Even so, sometimes I might have too many answers written down in my picture, but it kind of just makes it a little bit clearer, and you can kind of see, make sure everything makes sense there. So I'm going to start with, how about since KL is 31, and I know that the opposite sides are equal, I know that NM, which is the opposite side, is also going to be 31. All right, and then the same thing goes for LM. Since LM is 45, the side that's opposite, which is KN, is also 45. So the opposite sides are equal. I also know that the opposite angles are equal. So since angle N is 119, the angle that's opposite from angle N is angle L. So angle L is also 119 degrees. And then the consecutive angles are supplementary. So consecutive angles are the angles that are joined by a common side. So like angle N and angle M are consecutive. They're supplementary. So supplementary means they add up to 180. So 180 minus 119, that's going to give us the measure of angle M. So 180 minus 119, that's going to be 51. Or 61. All right, so angle M is 61. And now the opposite angle from angle M is also going to be 61. So angle K is 61 as well. All right, so now we can go back and we can fill in all of our answers. So MM, as you can see from the picture, is 31. KN is 45. The measure of angle K is 61 degrees. The measure of angle L is 119 degrees. And then the measure of angle M is 61 degrees. All right, so moving on to number 9. Now we have that diagonal drawn in, but we still do know the opposite sides are parallel to each other. So I see that CD is 15. So the side that's parallel to it, the opposite side, FE is also going to be 15. And then the side that's on the right, which is 10, is parallel and congruent to the side on the left. So that would also be 10. All right, the diagonals bisect each other. So I know that FD is bisecting CE. So that means that each of these pieces should be equal. So CG should be equal to GE. So if CG is 7, GE is also 7. And then down here, they tell us FD is 22. So this entire diagonal is 22. It's being bisected by CE. So we divide 22 in half, and we get that GD is 11, and FG is also 11. So now to answer all of our questions, CF is 10, FE is 15, CE, that would be 7 plus 7, which is 14. And then GD is 11. Okay, number 10, same properties, but now we just have a little bit of algebra. So they want us to find the length of KL. KL is opposite side JM. In a parallelogram, the opposite sides are congruent. So we're going to set them equal. 12x minus 22 equals 7x minus 2. To solve this one, subtract 7x from both sides and we get 5x, and then add 22 to both sides and we get 5x is 20. Divide by 5 and you get x is 4. Now we're going to take that 4 and plug it in because they asked us to find the length of KL. So KL is going to be equal to 7 times 5, or 7 times 4 minus 2. 7 times 4 is 28. 28 minus 2 is 26. So there's our answer. KL is 26. If you take that 4 and plug it in here, you'll also get 26 because the opposite sides should be the same length. Okay, number 11, this one might be one of the more tricky ones on the paper, so you just need to pay attention to what they give you. They tell you that AC, this entire diagonal, is 8x minus 14. And then they tell you EC, which is half of the diagonal, is equal to 2x plus 11. So with that in mind, since it's only part of the diagonal, BD is bisecting AC. That means that AE and EC are the same length. So if I double the length of EC, it'll give me the length of the whole thing, AC. So what I'm going to do is double EC. So multiply EC times 2. And set it equal to the entire length AC, which is 8x minus 14. And then distribute and solve that one. So distribute the 2, we get 4x plus 22 equals 8x minus 14. Subtract 4x from both sides, and I get 4x minus 14 equals 22. Add 14 to both sides, we get 4x is equal to 36. And then divide by 4, and you get x is 9. They also want the length. No, that's it. They just want x is 9. They just want the value of x. Okay, moving on to number 12. So number 12 and 13, you might want to look at those together. Number 12, these are going to be consecutive angles because they're connected with side QT, so they're consecutive. One's acute and one's obtuse, so there's no way they're equal. The consecutive angles are supplementary. So we're going to add them together and set them equal to 180. So 3x plus 5 plus 9x minus 17 equals 180. Combine the like terms. Get 12x minus 12 equals 180. Add 12 to both sides, you get 12x equals 192. And then divide by 12 and you get x is 16. Now they want the measure of angle t, so we have to go back in and we're going to plug it in. So for the measure of angle t, we're going to plug it into the 9x minus 17. So 9 times x, which is 16, minus 17. That's going to give us 127 degrees. So that's our answer for the measure of angle t. All right, number 13. Look at the two angles they give you, angle y and angle w. Those are opposite angles. They're not connected by a side. They're non-adjacent. So that means they're equal. The opposite angles are equal. They're both acute. So we get 10x minus 27 equals 2x plus 29. Subtract 2x from both sides, we get 8x minus 27 equals 29. Add the 27 to both sides, and you get 8x equals 56. And then divide by 8, and you get x is 7. They want the measure of angle w, so we're going to plug it in. So 2 times 7 plus 29. 2 times 7 is 14, and then 14 plus 29 is 43. So that's the measure of angle W. All right, so any questions that you have, just make sure you let us know. Have a good day.